Sagittarius, the woman who's doing witchcraft out of envy and anger, has passed away. Sagittarius and the light that couldn't be broken. Have you ever felt like something shifted around you but no one else seemed to notice? Maybe the air felt different. Maybe you walked into a room and your body tensed before your mind could explain why. Or maybe, just maybe, you felt watched. Not with love but with envy. If that stirred something in your memory, Sagittarius, then this message is not random. It's meant for you. Welcome to Zodiac Wisdom. I'm Sophia, psychologist, astrologer, and someone who walks alongside women just like you. Women who've lived, carried others, built lives with grace and grit, and are now being invited into something deeper. If you're a Sagittarius or someone drawn to the wild, truth-seeking, deeply intuitive energy of this sign, know this: you were never meant to dim your light just to make others comfortable. In this video, we're going to walk through a story that's hard to talk about but too important to ignore. It's about energy, real, subtle, powerful. It's about how someone in your past may have tried to block or weaken your spirit. And it's about what happens when that energy finally leaves the world. Because something sacred is shifting now. A karmic thread has been cut, and your soul, Sagittarius, is being called back home. We'll journey through 4 chapters. The truth about unseen energy, how your space holds memory, why your dreams have become more vivid, and the quiet miracle that awaits you now. This isn't just about someone who's gone. It's about the freedom you're about to reclaim. So stay with me, even if it stirs up old feelings, even if it feels like too much. Because at the end of this, you may discover something you didn't know you were missing: yourself. And if one sentence, one moment, or one memory in this video resonates with you, leave a comment. Share it. Let your voice be part of someone else's healing. And of course, if you feel held by what you hear, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom, and share it with a soul sister who needs this message. We're building a space here for women who walk with both fire and feeling, for women like you. Take a breath. Let it out slowly. You're safe now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The energy that tried to break you. Sagittarius, you were never built to hide. You were born with fire in your spirit and truth in your bones. And yet, there may have been a time, maybe years ago, maybe recently, when something or someone made you question that light. You couldn't explain it, but you felt it. A heaviness in certain spaces. A sudden loss of momentum. A strange chill that came without warning. Maybe even a stretch of your life where everything felt like walking through fog, no matter how hard you tried to push forward. And if that's true for you, if you've ever felt held back without knowing why, it might be time to acknowledge a truth that most people will never speak aloud. Sometimes energy can work against you. And not because you did anything wrong, but because your light was too strong for someone else's shadow. There may have been a woman, a friend, a family member, a stranger even, whose envy wasn't expressed in words but in thoughts, in actions behind the scenes, in spiritual interference. And yes, I know the word witchcraft might sound dramatic, but I'm not talking about movie magic. I'm talking about intention, the kind of unspoken, misdirected energy that is sent when someone wishes you harm, not with spells but with resentment, the kind that lingers, the kind that clings. You see, Sagittarius, your soul has always burned bright. You speak truth even when it's inconvenient. You stand tall even when it scares others. You are light, but not everyone can bear light when they live in their own darkness. And so sometimes that light becomes a target, not through confrontation, through energy. I once spoke with Elise, a 47-year-old Sagittarius who owned a small wellness studio. Business was flowing, her clients loved her, but she kept getting sick, drained, foggy. It didn't make sense, she told me, until I found out a former friend, someone who once envied my path, had been spreading false stories about me behind my back. She didn't do a spell, but she poured so much bitter intention into my name, my space, my energy, and it stuck. But here's what changed everything for Elise. That person suddenly cut ties, left town, and almost overnight Elise felt like herself again. Clearer, freer, as if an invisible pressure had lifted. Sagittarius, the same may be true for you. If you've recently felt lighter without a clear reason, it might be because that person, that energy has finally left your field. Their power over your path was never real. It only existed because deep down you cared. You felt. And you unknowingly allowed some of their fear to cloud your freedom. But no more. Because whether you knew it or not, that karmic thread has been cut. And with it, a part of your soul has been called home. You don't need to retaliate. You don't need to fight fire with fire. You are Sagittarius. Your fire doesn't destroy. It lights the way. So let your freedom be your proof. Let your joy be your answer. Let your movement forward be the message that says, I am still here. And I'm finally free. In the next chapter, we'll talk about the space around you. Your home, your studio, your sacred corners, and how they may still carry traces of the energy you've just released. Because cleansing your spirit is just the beginning. Now it's time to reclaim your space too. Chapter 2. Cleansing the space where you forgot you belonged. Sagittarius, you've walked through fire before, but sometimes it's not the flames that burn. It's the lingering smoke. The heaviness in the air that no one else can see. The invisible residue of someone else's fear, pain, or jealousy that settled into your sacred spaces long after they left. And maybe you've tried to shake it off. Open the windows. Light the incense. Rearrange the furniture. But still, something hasn't felt quite right. Some rooms feel colder. Some corners of your home hold a weight you can't name. And when you're alone, truly alone, you sense it. Not with your mind. With your body. That's not your imagination. That's your intuition. You see, Sagittarius, your home isn't just walls and furniture. It's a mirror of your soul. And when your soul has been under siege, whether through betrayal, spiritual interference, or long-buried grief, your home absorbs it, holds it, reflects it back to you in silence. That room you avoid? The drawer you haven't opened in years? The space where light never quite lands? Those are not coincidences. They are invitations. So today I want you to ask yourself this. Not as a ritual but as a return. Have I been living in a space that still holds someone else's shadow? Because here's the truth, Sagittarius. That person, whoever they were, may be gone, but what they left behind might still be lingering. And it's not your job to carry their imprint. Not anymore. You are a fire sign. You don't wait for change. You ignite it. Start with something simple. Light a candle. Not for ceremony but for clarity. Walk slowly through your space, even if it's just one room. Touch the walls. Open the windows. Speak words of peace into the air. And if it moves you, if it feels true, say it aloud. This is mine again. This space belongs to my healing. You don't need sage or crystals or chants unless they speak to your spirit. All you need is presence, intention, and the willingness to reclaim what was always yours. I once worked with Maria, a 56-year-old Sagittarius who said she hadn't slept well in her bedroom in over a year. Night after night, she woke up restless, her chest tight. It wasn't until she finally moved her bed to a new wall and threw away a gift from someone who deeply hurt her that she felt different. It's like I could finally breathe, she told me. Like my room stopped holding its breath. That's what cleansing is. It's not about superstition. It's about space, literal and emotional, becoming safe again. And here's something else. When you clear energy from your home, you're not just healing your past. You're laying a new foundation for your future. Every drawer you clean, every window you open, every object you bless with gratitude, it echoes. Across time, across memory, across your own nervous system. Sagittarius, this isn't about purging. It's about inviting back the light that once lived here. The laughter, the ease, the feeling of being held in your own space. Not just physically, but energetically. So if you've ever felt like your house wasn't quite yours, this is the moment to change that. Don't wait for the mood to strike. Create the mood with one sacred act. Choose to belong again. Because when a Sagittarius belongs to herself, fully, unapologetically, her home becomes a sanctuary not just for living, but for becoming. In the next chapter, we'll explore how your dreams have been speaking to you. How the symbols and whispers you've ignored may actually be the clearest messages from your higher self. Because once your space is clear, your soul starts to speak louder than ever before. Chapter 3. The dream wasn't just a dream. It was a message. Sagittarius, you've always trusted the open sky. You find truth in wide landscapes, in foreign cities, in deep conversations that stretch into the night. But lately, the journey hasn't been outward. It's been inward. And it hasn't come through books or road trips. It's come in the quiet of your sleep. Maybe you've had a dream that won't leave you. A strange face. A repeating symbol. A place you've never been to but somehow know. Maybe you've woken up in the middle of the night with your heart racing. A name echoing in your chest. Or tears on your cheeks you couldn't explain. If that's been happening to you, then please hear this. You are not being haunted. You are being guided. You see, Sagittarius, when your outer world becomes too loud, your soul shifts to speaking through dreams. And because your fire isn't just bold, it's deeply spiritual. You've always had access to something bigger, even if you didn't know it. I once worked with Serena, a 63-year-old Sagittarius woman who had vivid dreams about walking down an endless hallway with closed doors. For weeks she ignored it, until one night, she dreamed one of the doors finally opened. Inside was her late sister, holding out a journal Serena hadn't touched in 20 years. The next day she found it, buried in a box in her attic. It was like she led me back to myself, she said. That's what dreams do when you're ready. They don't predict, they reveal. They mirror back what your waking mind has been too busy, too afraid, or too hurt to see. And for you, Sagittarius, dreams are sacred terrain. They're not random. They're coded messages from the universe, from your ancestors, from your highest self. And they're coming more clearly now because you're finally ready to receive them. So here's what I want you to do. Start a dream journal. Nothing fancy, just a notebook beside your bed. Each morning write down anything, colors, symbols, emotions, faces. Even if it makes no sense, over time patterns will emerge. And through those patterns you'll find guidance. Have you dreamed of a road that never ends? A sky that shifts colors? A house with too many rooms? These are not abstract. These are parts of you speaking about freedom, overwhelm, unprocessed memory. Your soul isn't trying to confuse you. It's trying to free you. And sometimes, yes, those dreams include people who've passed. People who never said goodbye. People whose energy once hurt you but who now appear not to haunt, but to help you close the loop. To offer what they couldn't when they were here, peace. Sagittarius, you don't need to understand every message right away. You only need to honor that there is a message. Because when you begin to treat your dreams with reverence, you activate something ancient within you. You tell the universe, I'm listening now. And it will respond. Through songs, through symbols, through unexpected clarity, through a sudden sense of knowing. You've traveled many roads in your life, but none as intimate or as liberating as the one that begins in your dreams. This is where old pain becomes new wisdom. This is where unspoken truths finally find a voice. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what happens when all this energy, cleared space, clearer dreams, deeper self-trust, leads to something extraordinary. The return of your light. Not the old fire of urgency and doing, but the kind of light that glows from deep within, soft but unshakable. The light of becoming whole again. Chapter 4. The return of the light. When you choose to belong to yourself. Sagittarius, there comes a moment. Not with fireworks but with stillness, when you realize the search is over. Not because you've reached some final destination but because you've remembered where you belong. And the answer was never in the next project, the next journey, or the next version of you. It was always here. Inside. Waiting. After all the heaviness. After the clearing. After the strange dreams and subtle shifts. There comes this quiet, steady hum inside your chest. It says you're home now. But let's be honest, belonging to yourself isn't easy. You've spent a lifetime holding space for others. You've led, you've guided, you've inspired. And yet, for so long, you've been the one waiting at the edge of your own life, watching others take center stage, while your truest needs stayed quiet in the wings. Now, it's your turn. Not in rebellion, not in resentment, in reverence. Because when you begin to choose yourself, not in a loud declaration but in 1,000 soft ways, you create the kind of light that no darkness can touch. You say no without guilt. You say yes with your whole chest. You breathe deeper. You stop apologizing for the joy you feel or the peace you protect. You start lighting the candle not because you need to fix anything, but because you want to sit with yourself and feel your own presence. You take the walk. You write the page. You cry if the tears come, and you smile when they do because both are part of the light. This is the fire of Sagittarius matured. No longer running, no longer proving, just present, just true. I once spoke with Linda, a 59-year-old Sag who had just lost a friend in a painful, unresolved way. After months of guilt and grief, she stopped trying to move on. Instead, she bought a small bench and placed it under a tree in her backyard. Every morning she sat there. Not to meditate, not to do anything, just to be. And slowly over time she said, "I didn't get over the pain. I grew around it. And now I feel like myself again, but fuller." Sagittarius, this is what healing looks like for you now. Not control, not perfection, not escape, but presence. A returning to the parts of you that never needed fixing, just space. And as you begin to live from this place, not chasing but choosing, you become the kind of light that changes everything. Not because you set out to, but because you finally stop dimming yourself. Let the morning be slower. Let the night be sacred. Let your laughter come freely again, not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer expect it to be. You are home now, Sagittarius. In your skin, in your space, in your truth. And as your light returns, it won't be loud. It will be real. You don't need to start over. You just need to start choosing yourself again and again and again. And that, dear Sagittarius, is the kind of freedom no one can take away. Conclusion: you didn't just listen. You came home. Sagittarius, if you've made it here, it means something inside you was ready to hear what you may have long avoided. Ready to feel what you've kept beneath the surface. And most of all, ready to come home to yourself in a way that isn't loud but deeply true. This wasn't just a message, it was a mirror. And you didn't turn away. You didn't rush to fix. You simply stayed, breathed, and listened. And that alone is powerful. Because the journey you've just walked through wasn't only about someone else's energy, or what was once heavy. It was about who you are now, and who you're becoming when you choose not to run, not to perform, not to carry what isn't yours anymore. You've begun to reclaim the light that was never truly lost, only covered by layers of exhaustion, expectation, and emotional dust. And in doing so, you've returned not to a past version of yourself, but to the version that was always waiting underneath. You may not have had all the answers. You may still carry questions. But what matters most is that you've remembered how to stay soft without losing your strength, how to walk forward without abandoning your heart, how to honor what you felt without letting it define you. And from here, something sacred unfolds, not because you force it, but because you allow it. So I ask you, Sagittarius, what stayed with you from this journey? Was it a sentence that stirred something deep inside? A memory that rose up uninvited? A quiet knowing that you're finally allowed to rest? If yes, I invite you to leave a comment, one line, one thought, one moment that felt like yours, because your voice is part of the healing. And someone somewhere may be waiting for a truth only you can name. If this message spoke to you, take a small step. Like this video to affirm the return to your light. Subscribe to Zodiac Wisdom so we can walk this path together. Share it with a friend who needs to hear what you just allowed yourself to feel. And don't be afraid to tell the universe, even quietly, I'm coming back to myself. Because this space isn't just content, it's community. It's a reminder that no matter where you are in your life, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. And we're just getting started. In the next chapters, we'll explore how Sagittarius women like you can nurture soulful relationships, rediscover passions long buried, and rise into purpose not with pressure, but with peace. So stay with us. Stay open. Stay kind to the fire within you. Because it's not just light, it's your compass. And now that you've returned to it, the road ahead is yours to walk, step by intentional step.